again. Hi, this is Simone Bresi-Ando. I'm the founder of Bresi-Ando Tools for Living, and you are watching Ancestrally Speaking. Yes! Yes!
Okay, let's not tempt fate. Let's keep going.
Keep going. Okay, speak. Say all now, say all now. She's here. Okay, nobody move. No one touch nothing.
Don't touch anything.
Don't you say nothing. Don't you ask for food. Don't you drink no water. Don't do nothing. Anyway. She's here, everybody. Oh my God. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. So this is Simone Bresi-Ando, founder of Tools for Living. You're watching Ancestrally Speaking, and I have the delectable Andrea Thompson. So tell us, Andrea, who you are. And please, don't jinx us.
2 sentences.
That's all you got.
I've been studying, sharing, and blogging about lunar alignment for the past 15 years. And lunar alignment for me means understanding the cycles of the moon and actually being able to harness that power based on where the cycle is in the complete lunar cycle that takes about 28.5 days.
Brilliant. I love this. And so we're in a really interesting time, not because of just COVID. COVID is interesting because none of us have lived through anything like that before. We have about I think it's about 6 planets.
I think
right?
it is 6.
It's about 6 planets. And so how do you use this time? Because this is quite a unique time in terms of planetary movement, right?
So it is. And first, I really want to talk about what retrograde really means. What retrograde means is that the way that we orbit and the way that the other planets orbit around us, it gives us the optical illusion that those planets are going backwards. And they're really not. But because of it, astrologers and other folks have, said that it slows down the energy of that planet. And so with Mercury coming, Mercury is a planet of communication. So all of this stuff happening is just making me crack up inside.
I know, me too. Because it's here. When is Mercury retrograde? Is it June 12th?
It's June, but the reality is it could start as early as June 11th and maybe even a couple days before that and go as long as July 19th. So you're talking over a month.
Thank you. I like that.
Exactly. And so the thing is, whatever planet is retrograding, really go to the heart of what that planet, what the source of that planet is. So Cancer, the astrological sign Cancer is ruled by the moon.
Yeah.
And so right now we're in a Cancer, the new oncoming retrograde will be in Cancer. And you always have to take it, whatever the astrological sign, you have to go to the ruling planet of that sign to get a lot of the information.
Yeah, about also your personality, why you respond to things the way you do. I was saying that to everyone, I was telling the people that I'm a Sagittarius and we're the best of the zodiac.
I beg to differ because I'm a Virgo and there are several Virgos on this call.
Well, I will tell you this. I have Virgo in my chart 5 times. So
so
I'm more or less a Virgo. So I'm crazy.
Yeah.
And it's colliding with the Sagittarius. Seriously, it was so funny. I showed our mutual friend Rissy my birth chart and she went, "This is nuts." That's what she said. "This is nuts." I was like, yeah, makes sense. But Jupiter's retrograde, and that's my ruling planet. But also, it's the planet of luck and of,
and benevolence and regality
and growth and openness. And I love that. I really love it.
It's Jupiter is the king, and that's one of the ways astrologically that they say. But with the king and the crown comes a lot of responsibility. So there's good and there's bad to Jupiter, as always.
We have an Adinkra card, a Adinkra sign for that, and my mind is failing me on which one exactly it is, but it's basically the one that if you want to be the king, you should learn how to serve. And to be of service is a huge undertaking, which I don't think many people understand the levels.
No, they don't. People think service means you receive things, but actually service means you're supposed to give more than you receive.
Oh, Charles, we give more than, you're hitting me right there. I've been having these conversations about giving and not feeling appreciated about what I'm giving. And very much this is how I feel about Mother Nature and why we're going through the things such as Me Too, Time's Up, and COVID, is that she's given us everything, life, right? Mother Nature gives us life. And we've disrespected her. And Mother Nature is the biggest representative of the feminine divine. And that's why with Me Too and stuff, it was reminding us that don't you dare degrade us and rape us and tell us to be quiet, take it. And she's been coming up being like, oh, I'm gonna have you all. And this is the first really big, don't mess with me because I will end you. This and you. And if you look historically, especially since Western societies have had the power that they have, every 100 years or so, she comes up out of the ground and is like, you know what? Yeah. I got one for you. Right. And she always right. Exactly. You know? Exactly. And so that whole giving thing is really important. Please, people in the comments, tell us, what are your ruling planets if you know it? That would be really good because it's very informative to tell us about, you know, your character and things like that. And so tell me, Andrea, like, okay, with retrograding, what is the things we can do with this energy? Because you said it's kind of about less energy. The planet has less. So is it of any benefit to us? Why is it important? Well, yeah, the planets don't necessarily have less energy, but I think what happens is kind of to us, we feel like the power of what it is reduced. And that's not really the case. What it is you really have to tap into another side and also often unknown power of the planet. Mm-hmm. So for instance, with Mercury, it is a great time to really go within yourself and to find things within yourself. I find during Mercury retrogrades, I'm having less conversations. Mm-hmm. I'm not necessarily as boisterous as I would be. A lot of my own internal things that I'm dealing with, I try to focus on those because those are things that can actually, I can make headway during a retrograde. So it is really a time to not seek out new things, but really work to repair what is already there. I mean, kind of as an overall thing. The other thing is, don't take things personally during retrogrades. No matter which retrograde it is. Mm-hmm. Because if the energy of the planet and what's going on in your life is changing, there is a spiritual and divine reason for it. Mm-hmm. You just won't know at the moment. Mm. And so you can't take it personally. That could be an end of a relationship, an end of a job, an end of a friendship. Yeah. You know, maybe you have to move, something that oftentimes can be traumatic for us. Mm-hmm. There is, in the deep rooted part of it, things that are for our greatest and best good, but what is different is the timing of it. So it's like you got to give yourself that equanimity where, you know, there is no good and there is no bad. There's just a lapse in time. I love that. I love that. And that's, again, the Adinkra symbol. Mary, please, people, don't hate me on my accent. Don't get her. Because everyone gets me. Please, I'm English, I'm sorry. She is trying. I'm trying. It's really bad. I'm sorry, guys. I know I butchered that. But Imredani. See, now I'm thinking too much, so it's coming out even worse. But anyway, times change, okay? Times change is simple. And it really is about, you know, nothing's permanent, good or bad. Those times are not permanent. And as you say, equanimity, about just understanding that this is what it is. And we attach the emotions to it. So choose wisely, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's really interesting to me, that we're in a place where we should be reflective in the middle of a pandemic where we have to stay at home, which the pause has been pushing us to reflect. The pause has been doing that to us anyway, right? And I mean, what is your take on COVID-19? It's the reason why it's happened the way it's happened. What's your take on that as someone who works with the moon and things like that? What's your take?
My take is that it is definitely a time where en masse human beings are told that they really have to investigate sort of how they treat each other, how they treat the planet, where they think they're going to be in the future, actually what is the reality of where they came from or the things that they have done. Mm-hmm. And in some ways, we have to use this time to really take responsibility for the things that we have done, but also the things that we have not done. And to really use this time in order to reflect, how are we going to do this differently? Because as far as I'm concerned, the reason we got here is because we were doing things wrong.
Oh, a word. Doing things wrong.
And not just, and I'm, it's so amazing to me, the countries and the societies that are doing better with this, as opposed to most of the Western ones that are not. And it's a
I just laugh.
It's a straight jab to the chest of the West that you can have all the money, you can have all the white supremacy, you can have all the technology, but it doesn't matter if you don't have the collective understanding of how we exist on this planet.
And also
this
respect
absolutely.
Yeah.
This week in particular, something just clicked in my mind, say maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. I thought, you know what? All these vanilla people on television talking about my business and we need to do this and I'm going to protest. And I'm thinking,
and I have
there
a right.
is no I.
have a right.
Yes, you do not. You have a right to die.
We have a right to live. We have a right to live in peace without violence, without oppression. That's the rights I have. And you thinking that you want to go and buy a sparkly top in H&M, that's not a priority right now.
Or go to the gym. It's so to me, I realized this is one of the key issues that is wrong with the West. It's about individuality and not collectivism. And I always understood that, but to see this play out the way it has, it's so instructive. It
is. And you know, Nancy Graham, she said, and it's a complete lack of Ubuntu. And you're right.
Yeah, exactly.
What you're saying. And you know, you're so right. You know, I've been sitting back a little bit smug, I ain't gonna lie, because I've been rabbiting like this for a while, and you know, I get a lot of people's backs up with the stuff I say, but I've just been like,
okay.
because how many times do we have to show you that this place is not just for you? It's not just for your systems. It's not just for your money making and your greed and your oppression and your really toxic focus that you have on people and things and ownership. It's not. It's for everyone. And the fact is that we don't, even as Black people, non-Black people, whatever we are, we don't own it. Mother Nature owns it.
No, absolutely. And and for those who thought that they did own it, this is showing them that.
Right.
This is showing them that. And
so what do you feel would be your biggest, I mean, okay, you have this insight, right? For you, it's it's nothing new, but it's instructive, as you said, but it's a bit of a like, wow, okay. Are you changed? Will you be changed by this?
I believe so. I think that I'm a slow processor. So during all of this, I've been sort of purposely quiet because I really wanted to hear my inner voice, not Netflix, not the newspaper, not the internets. And so I think I'm starting to formulate from this how I will operate, but I know that it's a process. So even me knowing that, I'm also very clear to understand that I still too don't understand how that's going to play out for me. But what I am is I'm open to understanding that it is happening, and it will be different. And I will be moved to do things that I haven't done before or to think of things that I haven't thought of before. But I'm not being so prescriptive, like I have to do this and I have to do that, because that's also very Western. Because talk about ancestrally speaking, ancestors do not give you a list.
And they do it in their own time.
Yes.
You know,
and in their own way. You know, it makes me think of, you know, all things come for your greatest and best good. Our greatest and best good is not necessarily what we think and in this moment and how we think and with who we think and when and where we think. It's the infiniteness and the omnipotence of what a creator is and what divinity is, and also what ancestral power is. It's not on you can't regiment it. It's not on a timeline. It's not a production or a programming grid. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's where I'm, you know, I wasn't actually locked onto time as much as some people are, probably why I'm always late. But it is also, there is that kind of mechanism which I'm really trying to let go of things like that. I'm really trying to let go of it and just be like, okay, this is not happening as quickly as you want it to. And it's okay. And this is what it's going to be, you know.
It is. And I mean, think about it. We are from ancestors who did not have clocks, did not have watches. They used, the almanac is from connections to the moon and with cycles. And honestly, that's what originally really got me into doing this, because I thought, if an almanac has been around as long as it has and it can predict things, why the hell attention to this.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're
Because
right.
the tides and how things grow and weed, and so all of that is connected to the moon.
Yeah,
The tides are connected to the moon.
I love that.
So it's interesting.
Hmm.
It is very interesting.
I love that.
Um,
I love that. We're also, as people, we're also taking a little bit more of a heavier note about nature and how nature is coming
Absolutely.
back into its space, its original space,
Yes.
because we encroached on its space and now it's like coming back. And I really am thinking about all the things that are coming back to me in this period. And connection is one of them, and reconnecting with some people that I haven't spoken to in years, but somehow now we're just like talking to, and some newer people that I'm really connecting to on a deeper level as well. And as you know, I have a dog. I'm a dog mum now for a week. And just the fact that I've created that space for myself to have this furry little thing that I have to care for like a child for the rest of my life. I did that. But it's just creating those moments for myself, I think, is such a beautiful thing. And so what have you created for yourself in these moments? That would be really, really helpful for us to know. What is it that you kind of connected to?
So one of the things I have connected to, and I also see Nanny Graham's question.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we'll get to that. Is prior to this, I was doing training and I was getting massages and I was, going all kinds of going to a chiropractor. Yeah. But when this stopped, I was like, my health has to be in my hands now. Yes. And so one of the things that I've been doing is getting up. I live about 4 blocks from a park. And even when the park was closed temporarily, I still was trying to get up every day and just walk and be in nature, because this is a pandemic. It's not a natural disaster.
Yes.
There is a humongous difference. And so what I've been doing is every morning I get up and I'm in the middle of, there's a lake, there's trees, there's grass, there's squirrels running all over the place. There are birds, and it helps me to connect not only to nature, but to a part of myself that I don't get to express, say when I'm at work on my computer, or I'm having a conversation with somebody at home, or I'm running to get something from the store. It's just that the beauty and the infinite knowledge that is in silence.
I love that.
So that's one of the things that, and I've been to the point where even if I go to sleep late, at 6 o'clock I'm popping up, or 7:30 I'm popping up.
Right. And there's a whole weight of stress that's just come off me since this as well, which I'm just not entertaining anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. There's no place for it. And I think it's really good for us to look at what is in our life at the moment and what we don't have. It doesn't have a place for it in our life anymore. So it's funny, there's something called Rise and Grind Twitter, Rise and Grind Instagram. They're like, come on girl, write your business plan, because when we open up, you can get that business. I'm like, when we open up, people are not going to be thinking about buying glittery batons that we don't need. Like there are so many changes happening with people. They're losing income, they're losing family members. Absolutely. I'm not sure people are really clicking as to this new world that we have to create for ourselves. It's not a new world that's going to be created. We have to do it. What's your ideas around that and what creating that?
Well, I think the intentionality is so important, and I feel personally, one of the other things that I try to embrace every day that is going to be something that I take into the future in a very different way is just gratitude. Just really being grateful. Grateful I'm who I am, grateful for the experiences that I have. Grateful that I'm still able to work. And when I can, grateful that I have the means to help other people who, I'm constantly checking in on people, making sure they're okay, checking in on family. So for me, I think what I want to create is a life where I'm more in tune with nature, but also with people on the planet in a very significant way. Very significant and possibly deeper than it has been before. But again, that whole thing about ancestral knowledge, I'm also not trying to be very, like, I have to make a plan about it.
Right. Yeah. I flow, right?
Yeah.
Flow.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that kind of links into Nancy Graham's question where she says, do you have tips for embracing divine timing? And I know, just from my personal experience, there's still things that I really want that haven't happened in my life yet. And the frustration is real. And
Yeah.
yesterday I had some tears about it because it comes in peaks and troughs,
Yeah.
And so how do you handle it? I cry and I eat.
Oh
And
yeah.
they're not always the
Crying
best thing. But how do you handle it?
crying sometimes is what it comes to, but I think the older I get, the more of what I do is I write about it. Because what writing about things does is it helps you express in a very almost unconscious way what your real thoughts about it are, and it's sometimes things that you wouldn't even say. And so as I'm writing about it, what I can do is I'm taking a snapshot of that period in time and how I feel about it, which then I can later go back and look at that when things have changed. And I have journals that I've been keeping for years, and even when I go back, I think, oh God, what was I thinking? Like I didn't even see what was happening. And even if it's not, you don't have to do it every day, but I find that writing is one of the ways that I can physically see my right brain and my left brain can kind of sync up to say, it's not the time that I want, but it does happen. Yeah. It might not be the way that I want, but it does occur.
I like
and
that.
So that's one of the things that I really would encourage people to do is to write. And one of the other things too is I haven't done it in recent years, but I try to write a letter to myself and mail it to myself and put it on my altar, and then I open it a year later. And in there, I put all what my hopes and my dreams are for that year. You can do it around your solar return or your birthday. You could do it around a day that's significant to you. But I just this week, I went through a letter that I wrote from maybe 2009 or 7 or something, and I thought, oh my gosh, look how far I've come. And this was me telling me this.
Oh, I love that. That's such a beautiful ritual. That's really lovely. Like, I over the New Year, I went to Miami. Thank God I could get out there before this whole thing hit. And I was on the water on New Year's Day. And now I've said to myself, every New Year's Day, I'm going to be on a boat on the water somewhere. I have to. It's just the most serene place to be welcoming in the New Year. So I love this ritual. This is amazing. So you write to yourself, and it's basically your hopes for the year. That's what you're kind of writing.
Yeah, and also what are some things that I'm currently dealing with as I write it, and knowing that sort of writing it is giving it to the universe or giving it to my higher self to say, I am releasing this, and I'm going to allow you all to work it out. My logical sort of rational mind, it's limited.
Yeah.
And so because I know it's limited, I have to give this to something more.
Yeah.
And it's the things that have happened are just amazing. And it's kind of what you were saying about learning to let things go.
Yeah.
And when you let things go, amazing things happen.
You're right.
Way beyond what our minds can process.
You're completely right. I think the Virgo in me, 5 times, 5 times on my chart, only knows control and perfection and detail and lists and that sometimes is very hard to let go of things, especially if it doesn't happen in the way that you want. And I think that's a lesson for us all,
Well, and also let me introduce, because I do have a Virgo rising sign, or a Virgo sun sign, I should say. There is also a part about Virgo that a lot of people don't understand, and Virgo represents the teenager in the zodiac, in the cosmology of the zodiac. It is the dead middle. And there are so many things that are good about teenagers. They're bold, they're creative, they're sassy, they're fearless. And so what I've tried to do in my life is, in order to harness that, I've tried to move less away from the control and the criticalness of Virgo and the perfectionism, and move more towards that free sort of, I got this, I can do this, I'm the shit.
Yeah.
Because there is power in that. And I mean, just look at how powerful Black youth culture is worldwide and what it creates.
Is the culture.
And it is mostly teenagers that create a lot of this.
Yeah, and it's so frustrating to me because they don't get the financial benefit or even the recognition, and we have to do better as a culture to place the recognition and funnel the money back to the creators. We have to get way better to doing that.
Absolutely. There's some really good questions coming through. I'm trying to catch all of them.
I know. So we have Nina Dominguez. She says, oh, well, I'd love to hear the stages that each of the signs represent. So I'm not sure if that's your strong point to talk about each sign, but we definitely have a good understanding.
Yeah, I can, but I would rather do that at a different time because it is something that will take up. But just to give you a snapshot, Aries represents the first, and it's the infant. And if you go to the end of the 12 cosmology, of the cosmology, Pisces is the old man and considered like has the ability to be the complete cosmic person.
That's why
with Virgo being the middle part.
Interesting.
So if you look at it and if you think about it from birth and infancy to wisdom and sagehood, that's kind of how they look at it. It does not mean that any of those signs are that. It does not mean that they can't have other aspects, but when they created the 12, that was how they sort of created it. And in some ways, some of that can also transfer to Chinese astrology that looks at animals and the properties that animals have. But what I would suggest to anybody, we could actually do one on that. But between now and then, just find out what your sign is. And you could either IG me or figure out, DM me or follow me or something, and I can always, point you in the right direction of what I know. And there's an infinite amount of information about it.
Brilliant. I really need you to do my chart because, from what Rissy said, where she goes, this is nuts. I'm like, I think I need another type of analysis on my chart. Because I already know I'm nuts, and I get it. I think the planets were probably like, oh my God, when I was born. So
you know what I did really want to mention too, especially with the Mercury retrograde coming up, is I want to completely suggest to everybody, do not sign any kind of contract if you can. If you have to sign a contract of some sort or enter into a new business relationship or even like a credit card or whatever, read everything, know everything, ask every question you can ask, and also know that just prepare yourself because there could be difficulties. That's one of the biggest things during our Mercury retrograde in particular, that you really aren't supposed to be signing any kind of deal or contract or whatever.
Or doing any kind of big moves where it's contractual work, stuff like that. That's why I'm always trying to get stuff done. And I'm like, just get it out there before the retrograde.
And then, we're in the middle of COVID, so it kind of helps. Yep, definitely.
And that's what, I've read in a few astrological blogs, is that they're saying that all these retrogrades are going to help COVID and flatten the curve and to kind of, get everything into a place where we can start moving into what normality can look like. But I mean, I don't know if we really need normal. I mean,
no, it's so funny that you say that because in the last 2 weeks with everybody talking about quote unquote reopening, and I'm really using Colin Powell air quotes. I don't want normal. Normal is how we got here in the first place. What I want is a new reality. And a new reality that we, the people, wherever we are controlling, because what this has also shown is that governments don't have the answer.
No. And they
in our country, the government isn't even listening to the experts who are the people who know. So you really we need to take back the power. In whatever small ways, whether it's our local communities, whether it's regionally, all of that stuff, we need to take back the power. And I think this can level, because some of the most heroic and the most amazing feats of help and humanity that I have seen have just been everyday people.
And they always are. People make things
Absolutely.
move. You know, it's
Absolutely.
not governments that grant any of the big changes in life have never happened because of a government.
No.
And I'm not even one of those people who's like, we don't need government, big government. I'm not. I'm actually not. We do need government, actually. If we're going to live within these frameworks, we do need government. That's that thing. But what I will say is that normal doesn't even feel right now. Like the word, I don't even want a new normal, because what that shows me is that I'm going to rest on my laurels, because we're going to get there and we're going to be as despondent, as individualized, as just, you know, ignorant as possible. I don't want a new normal. What I want is a new way of living. You know?
It's a new reality.
Yeah.
And I also think I've said this to many people, but for me, everything that has happened, at least in the US and other parts of the Western world too, from about the end of 2016 until now, I feel like white supremacy and domination is really taking its last great stand. And what is really
we hope.
No, what this needs to do is this really needs to activate people to understand that people have no problem with you dying. Yeah. People have no problem with you disappearing. People have no problem with you going away. Yeah. So if all of us, no matter what we look like, want to continue being here, and do not want to be a sacrifice for someone's progress, then we need to take on our own responsibility. Yes. We need to be intentional. We need to build communities. We need to steep ourselves in who we are and our ancestral practices and how we made it this far, because we are a very resilient people.
Incredibly
Don't let anybody tell us otherwise.
We're the oldest civilization. Our civilization, African civilizations is civilization. Every other civilization comes from it and is a derivative of, and sometimes a bad mashup of it, to be frank. You know what I mean? But I love what you said. There's something you said there where you said about don't be the sacrifice. Now, that is... it's such a powerful thing and powerful way of seeing this. But the poor, the black and the brown and women are usually the sacrifice of these systems that we live in. And we're seeing it. And children are
and old people.
And old people.
And elders.
Right. And so we really got to get to a place where you're right. We die because of our own means, not because of somebody else's means or somebody else's carelessness or they're over-indexed on oppressing us or just point scoring, right? That can't be how we end. And it's always something I've said that, you know, if I'm going to die, the way I die from my own means. I ain't dying because somebody's a fool. Hell no, you know?
And you know what? And just on a very funny note too, this whole time and how people have responded, in particular, how people of color have responded, really makes me think of the Dave Chappelle skit about the race draft, because there are several people that I'd like to trade.
We're gonna go there on a Sunday morning, because
yes, we can. This is sacred language, and we don't have to even mention people. But
I know.
But it should be. But it's eye opening. Yeah. We really need to see this for what it is, and to not use the lens of media or the internet or the newspaper or government or corporations, for that matter. We have sight, even if we've been blind for a long time.
For real.
We do have sight, and we need to open our eyes, see who we are, and see what we want out of life. That's really what it is about.
There's something actually Soul to Soul said here.
I know. T just said trade Ben Carson. He was on my list a long time ago.
The thing is, though, I'm going to say this. We also have to weed out the Ben Carson within ourselves.
Absolutely.
Because Ben Carson exists because there's parts of us that we excuse to do that shit, to be that person.
And he's a part of the Black psyche that talks about what it means to make it. And when a person makes it and they don't have any connectivity to where they come from, that's exactly what happens.
Right.
And that's why, going back to your point about connection, is so important. We are responsible for each other. And there's many people on here who know me, know that I work in arts administration. And one of the things that has been so disheartening to see is so much of the relief are not going to Black and brown organizations or artists or even in institutions, which means the institutional racism inherently it seeps right in. And what that means is that we need to invest in ourselves.
Always.
You can still be part of the opera and the symphony and all this stuff, but if you want Black and brown arts, artists, and institutions to thrive and to exist, we have to support them. And we have to make it important.
And we do know how to support them, but it's just for some reason. No, it's not for some. I know the reasons. It's complex, but I know the reasons. But we have to do better at supporting ourselves in ways that we support other things.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And if we give it equal measure, so I'm not saying to you don't do those other things. I'm like, make sure you do your own like that, though. Make sure that's the first port of call. Go on.
Ralston asked the questions about what are one or two things that I'd like to work towards in this new way of living.
Like that question.
One of the things that I want to work towards is how to really, even if we are apart, how to really create community. What does that look like?
Yeah.
And how do we use technology in a very meaningful way to create community? And I'm not talking about battles on the internet or any of that.
Well,
not that that's not important.
Not that the verses.
Not that those aren't important, because they are important, because it soothed our soul, and we need soothing at this moment. But how do we take it further than just that? But also, how do we, how does that translate into making sure that elders are taken care? How do we translate that into making sure people have food? For me, that this issue of food insecurity has been so heavy on my heart.
That kids have to go to school to get their one meal. I mean, to be frank, I think everyone in a country, England is exactly the same, to be frank, should feel disgraced that a child doesn't get its main nutrition from the home, that it has to rely on a public institution to eat. It's disgraceful. It's really disgraceful. And to boast about being a developed country and to do all of this when children are not eating is disgraceful. And
so I also want to figure out, what I can do with the whole issue of food security. It makes no sense that we live in this country where people have too much money
and throw away food
throw food away. And just so happens, because of the area that I live in and where I'm at, there is a large push with like the food banks and stuff, and they don't need as much help. But that's not the case all over the country or even all over the world at this point. And the other thing is, in a very funny sort of way, I think that everyone understands now why universal health care is helpful.
Ooh, Charles, say it again.
Because now everybody is getting universal health care, which is, it doesn't need to be a pandemic. Your right should be food, healthcare, shelter.
Exactly. It's funny to me, actually, and actually just Ralston, for me, there's two things, and I'm going to circle back to what you said. Two things is that I want a society that seeks out, hangs, cut and dries predators, seeks them out, and keeps them out, and labels them and hangs them. I'm not playing with that, because we live with too many predatory acceptances. It's too normal to be a predator. It's predatory at work. It's predatory financial institutions. Predatory sexual in the family. It's too much. We're not allowing people to just breathe and be without someone trying to get us and get our spirit through so many means, right? So it's definitely to hang out all predators in all forms, all of them. And then another thing I would love to see also is a real reckoning and a welcoming back and a walking directly to, with open arms, of traditional indigenous practices, including African spirituality for people who are African and African descent. And it's that, without a doubt. I honestly believe that is our key out of all of this. There is nothing for me that shows.
And as much as I agree, the unfortunate thing is there are so many of us that are not going to even see that. Over the years, the more I've learned spiritually and the more deeper I've gone into myself, I've had to realize everybody is not going to get there, and everybody is not ready to get there.
Yes. And
I have to accept that, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to be a zealot, and I don't want to I don't want to force people or
Yeah.
even condemn them because
Yes.
they're working on their own time.
Yeah.
And if where I'm at and where they're at is not at the same space, then I just have to accept it.
Yeah, you're right. And that's the thing with the amount of loss people are experiencing now with COVID, is that every time I'm hearing about someone passing, I'm also understanding that not everybody can come along. You know,
No,
I
no.
just like you, the race draft. I have a thing with my friend Cindy called Noah's Ark, our Ark, and that's on. And basically, not everyone's getting on that boat. Trust me, not everyone's getting on that boat. And we also throw people off the boat too. They get on and then they can be thrown off. And
Or they jump off.
oh, they jump off. Yeah, that's true. But we make that happen. You know, it's a revolving door. No one can stay. You know, it's not fixed. And so, you know, not everybody can come along. And as painful as a lot of this is, I think lots of the people leaving us are making decisions about what they want for their life. And that also knowing when they come back from these illnesses, maybe it's not a level of life they want to engage in, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's
Yeah.
huge long-term after effects of this illness.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I also really want to think about in the new reality is, you know, really helping people kind of work through this, because I was having a conversation with someone this week. There's a lot of survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
You know, why did I survive, but
Yeah.
so-and-so didn't? Why did my family member did not pass away, but theirs did? And those are very real concepts. And, you know, one of the things that the U.S. really should have after this is free mental health care.
Oh.
Because that's one of the things that we're really going to need.
They should have had it a long time ago.
I know,
the amount of
I
people
know.
bleeding their mental health issues all over.
I know. But and also using it, someone mentioned on here, I didn't see who it was, but about healing.
Yeah.
You know, that really needs to be a priority. And healing isn't just healing yourself.
No.
It's healing your community, healing the planet, healing old wounds. It's a lot, and it's become so cliche to say the word healing, but I think very few people are actually understanding what that is. Because if I'm a healer, no, it doesn't mean that I don't have scars, but I don't need to be a complete oxymoronic version of myself as soon as the cameras go off.
Yeah.
And for me, I've always, that's something that's always,
that is a word.
Yeah, that's something that's always bothered my soul with these people who are so, you know, magnanimous and gregarious and so prophetic and all of these things, but that's not who the person is. And yes, you do need to pay attention to messages, but you also need to see who the messenger is too.
It's interesting. Nancy Graham, she just said, let them build breaking down white supremacy into the universal mental health care initiative. I like, so there's 2 points. Something, you just triggered something in me actually, Nancy, saying that let them, we are them, so we got to do it. There's no them, because we let them do it before, and that's why we have the systems we have, right? And then the other thing I'm thinking to myself, sorry, this whole thing, just wave came over me. You know, Black women are prone to dying at higher rates in pregnancy and childbirth than any other of their counterparts. So what's happening to us building maternity hospitals for Black women? You know, and it's not that this is going to be a totally selfless thing. It's going to be funded. You know what I mean? People, there is money to be made. And I'm not saying it from a capitalist point of view. I'm saying it that people feel that these kinds of initiatives are all give, and they're a big black hole of money and there's no money. No, it can be a self-sufficient thing that's using technology in ways that's sensitive to our cultural differences, that's using people that understand our culture and respect our culture and ourselves, and listen to us. They understand our pain tolerances, or even believe we have a pain level. And so there are ways that we could do it. What I mean, New York, this city could be the first place to have a Black female maternity hospital that takes care of you from conception to birth. That
Absolutely
would be completely amazing, you know. Those are the kind of things that my new reality I want it to have, because we simply cannot do or use the system anymore. We can't.
You know, it's It's so funny that you
Mm.
mentioned that because you know this and maybe a couple other people did, but I
Mhm.
had to have a procedure done
Mhm.
earlier in the year
Mhm.
um, um, on my cervix.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when it happened, I was so upset.
Mhm.
And the reason that I was the most upset was for that exact point that you said. It doesn't matter how educated I am. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
if I have insurance. It doesn't necessarily matter who the physician is.
Mhm.
As a Black woman, I know when I enter the allopathic medical system, I'm not going to be listened to. And that was the most fearful thing for me. And not only was I fearful, but I was angry. I
That's
was
it.
very angry because I
That's
was
it.
like, I wanted to rage against this because here I am in the same position, and what can I do? And I mean, I deliberated as long as I could, but then I ended up going ahead and getting the procedure done, and my healing period has actually been during COVID, which is so
Mm.
bizarre.
Mm. But
Um,
good. But good.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I've been so intentional about the energy, and it's also showed me that allopathic medical system ain't all it's cracked up to be.
And it doesn't have the answers.
No,
It
it
has
doesn't.
suggestions. It has suggestions. And that's also about any healing modality, actually. All healing
Absolutely.
modalities are suggestions, and we can listen to
Absolutely.
what the body does when we do something, but we don't exactly know. And that's why with our sort of indigenous healing practices, they're very
Absolutely.
good as preventative measures. They should, for me, I
Absolutely.
never take them as pure cures. I just don't think
No.
it, but they're amazing for preventing situations from arising. And that's
So what
why,
I,
yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say what I ended up doing was working with the doctor, but also I have a naturopath
Mm.
that I did some supplemental things
Mm-hmm.
that actually ended up making me so much prepared for, battling the virus and germs and stuff because
Mm-hmm.
it was all about immunoboosting.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not lost on me that all that stuff happened right before this all occurred.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it is that we have the power to make the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have the ancestral knowledge, even if we don't understand it,
Mm-hmm.
to sort of forge ahead. And even if we get things wrong, that's okay. Even if
Yes,
we make
yes,
mistakes,
yes.
that's okay.
Okay,
That's a part of the process.
that's it. Brilliant.
This whole I have to do it and it has to be right and I have to achieve this,
Mm-hmm. No.
that's a farce, and
Yeah.
that's not how things really work. Definitely not in antiquity, but also not now.
So I thank you so much. We only have a minute remaining.
Oh my
I
gosh.
know, right? But we're going to do this again. You're coming back because we
Yes,
finally
ma'am.
got it working. We're going to do
Yes.
this again. I am so excited at everybody who joined and the interactions. I think people have
And the
loved this.
comments.
Thank you so much, everybody. Andrea, it's been an amazing pleasure. We finally got you. You didn't
I
move.
know.
You didn't ask for a drink. You didn't touch that. So we finally got you. But thank you for sharing everything. And I'm so happy that everyone's here. This is going to be put on our YouTube channel. It will be up during the week, and we're going to come back next week with another great Ancestrally Speaking. I'm Simone Bresi-Ando. This is Andrea Thompson. Thank you, guys. Take care, okay? Thanks so much.
Bye. Thank you. Have a
Bye.
good day.